Okay, apologies for the noise in the background. They're doing building work next door, I'm afraid. Okay, we're doing a review of this nice little, almost a pancake lens from Pergear, 10 millimeters of f5.6. So it's a fixed aperture lens, and it does have a focus ring, and it's really cheap, and I think you should buy it. So I'm going to explain why. Just before I do, I'll let you know that I'm not an affiliate for this lens. You will find that most other people reviewing this lens are affiliates for Pergear or Amazon or something else. I've not been sent this lens, I bought it myself. So you're getting a totally independent review. Now, the reason I do reviews, and they're very amateur, by the way, I'm just using my phone here. The reason I do reviews is to kind of fill in gaps on YouTube, and although there's been one or two reviews since I ordered this lens a couple of months ago, I just feel like there's no one independently giving you strong opinions on it. So I'm just going to give you my full-on straight up opinion on whether you should get this lens or not. Chris Orange did a review of it, but he never quite said you should definitely buy it or not, and yeah, I don't know. There's a couple of other reviews out there that have example shots, which I recommend you go and have a look at. I'm not going to show you example shots. You're just simply getting my opinion here. So let's get down to it. The lens is available on Micro Four Thirds, Sony E Mount, Canon M Mount, and Fuji Mount. So I'm using it on Fuji here. I do have Sony gear as well, but I mainly use my Fuji for manual lenses these days. This is probably going to be the last Fuji lens I buy, actually. Anyway, as you can see at the side here, the lens sticks out in the middle, and it's protected by a fixed hood which is embedded into it. It's part of the lens, so you definitely need that there. Let's just pull up the 27mm pancake to give you an idea of the size. So that's got its hood on, and it's around about the same size. They're both, pancake sized. This Pergear lens is a tiny bit longer, but it's pretty much the same size and weight. This is a bit plasticky. This is full metal. But Fuji lenses, of course, are always going to be higher quality than a cheap Chinese lens like this. Now, I paid £38 for this, which is something like $50. And you can do that if you're prepared to wait for delivery by ordering from somewhere like AliExpress, where it's shipped from China. The recommended retail price is $75, which is more like £50 here. So I saved like £12 or $18 by ordering it in advance of needing it. I was actually out of the country, so I just ordered it, and when I got back, it was here waiting for me. It was like Christmas. So I have been playing with it for a week, and not too much. I've had other stuff going on and other camera gear to play with, but I feel like I can give you a review of it now, and I can tell you basically it's sharp enough. It's not a sharp lens. You can look at the pictures on other reviews, and they're amazing. Some of them are really sharp. So I don't know if I've got a slightly soft one, but it's good enough. I'm certainly not unhappy with it. I would give it 6 out of 10, which is my rating for an average, just about good enough kind of level of sharpness, and that's in the center. Now, if you go around the edge, a third of the picture around the edge, then it's down to like 5 out of 10 or something like that. It's not very good, but mainly you're going to be focusing on the central part, and that's what counts to me. So I'm quite happy for it to fall off a bit at the edges. It's a fisheye, so you get lots of distortion at the edges, and people get stretched or they go very small at the edges. It depends on the perspective of where you're pointing the lens. But it's a fun lens to play with if you want a fisheye, if you want to play with distortion, like perspective distortion, holding it in different ways. The general rule is if you hold it parallel to the ground, then you're going to be quite straight. If you hold it pointing down or up somewhat, then it's going to look a bit weird. So if you keep that in mind, keep it parallel, that's when fisheyes are pretty good. So whatever system you're on, there's always going to be a pancake lens or two. And that's why when I like using this, because together this makes a little pocketable kit. And I'm talking about pants pocketable, because I would wear this out. I use a shoulder strap, not a neck strap. And then I would have one of these pancakes in my pocket. So I would normally go out with the normal lens, and then I would have this like for street photography, like 20 minutes at the end of the walk. Just it just offers you something different, which I think is a nice little kit to have. I used to go walking with my friend, and he always used to change lenses and have a big bag with him. And he, especially abroad in Thailand, he would be sweating, and it just made me think I'm never going out with a bag. So if you're like me, you can just take this in your pocket, and you've still got a mini kit with you. So on Micro Four Thirds, you've got the 14mm lens, you've got the 20mm pancake lens. These are pancake lenses. Canon M Mount, I think there's a 22mm. Sony, there's a 20mm and a 16. Fuji, there's an 18mm and a 27mm pancake. So you take one of those, and you take this, and you've got a fun little setup, a little kit. And fisheye is something that is an acquired taste, and it's not something you really want to commit to for a whole day's photography. So I used to have a bigger fisheye lens, and I did enjoy it, but it didn't work for everything. And sometimes I would go out and it would just be so wide. I'd have to get so close to people that I just didn't use it very much. So this gives you that option to use both. I used to have the 7 Artisans 7.5mm f2.8, which was a fantastic lens for the money. I paid £100 for that, which is $140. That's the recommended retail price. They've brought out a new version of that, which I was surprised, because I thought it was a very good lens, which improves on chromatic aberration. But this thing was £38, so it's almost a third of the price of the 7 Artisans. And if you pay the recommended retail price, it's basically a half of the 7 Artisans. There's a couple of others. I think TT Artisans have brought out one quite recently. And then there's the Samyang Rokinon fisheye lens, which is also very small and compact. That one's a bit more expensive, like $280 or $300 or something like that. But if you want a proper fisheye, you go for a 7.5mm 7 Artisans or the TT Artisans one. If you want a budget lens, or if you want a proper good fisheye, use the Samyang, or it's called Rokinon in many countries. This is a happy medium between those lenses and the body cap lenses. There are 2 body cap lenses came out last year. One is by Pergear, f8, 10mm f8, and the other one is by Rockstar, which just focuses slightly differently. Also, it's probably the same lens, a 10mm f8. And like with that lens, which has 2 manufacturers, this one also has been released by Brightin Star as well as Pergear. And the difference with the Brightin Star one is it's got I think it's an orange ring around it. So it just looks a little bit different. I prefer this more subtle look. So yeah. Okay, so sharpness, good enough, like I said. When it came to the sharpness with the 7 Artisans, that was more like 7 out of 10, 7.5 out of 10 in the center. That was really good. This is 6 out of 10, so don't be expecting miracles, but I have seen people with what looks to be a sharper image from some of the other reviewers out there. So yeah, it could be better than just average. But for the price, I think it's fantastic. Now, the main thing I want to show you about here that other people, don't think anyone else has broached this subject, is the focusing. So it's a fixed aperture at 5.6, and the focusing goes from 15 centimeters to infinity. And from 1 meter to infinity is just that on the scale. It's tiny. So what this shows us is that the depth of field is enormous. And you can actually set it so that it's 0.5 meters, which is about 2.5 foot. to infinity. That's how you can set this lens. So that's what we want to do. That's what you need to do. That's the first thing you need to do with this lens, is set it not straight to infinity. You're going to have to play around with it for a while and find the sweet spot. So my sweet spot is there. I'm going to make a marking on it when I figure out what's the best way to do it. If anyone's got any ideas, let me know. I just want to make a subtle marking, but for me, it's before the actual, before the infinity marking. So I had to play around with it, take a few photos, use focus peaking, and just keep messing around until I found where is actually the best point, where it goes from 0.5 meters to infinity. Because if you go all the way to the end, it's going to go past infinity and everything's going to be slightly blurry in your photo. Even stuff at a distance is going to be blurry. I'm sure it comes back into focus again in the far distance. I'm not sure exactly how it works, but you go past infinity and it's not good. So when you get this lens, play around with it until you find your sweet spot. And it is, unfortunately, it's one of the weaknesses of these cheap Chinese lenses. You do have to kind of play around with it because every lens is different. But for me, it's about there. I've taken a picture of exactly where it is, and I'm going to make a marking at some point. So you've just got to play around with it. So that's it. When it comes to flare, it's actually fairly good. You don't lose contrast with the sun in the frame, and chromatic aberration is there, but it's easily correctable. The only major issue with the sun is bleeding, which is when you've got a shadow, a dark like a person or something, their head, and a bright sky behind them. Some of that bright sky bleeds into their head, and it's not the most attractive thing. So that it's not ideal for going directly into the sun, but it's good enough for street photography, for casual photography, even for like social occasions. It's really good, because with your normal lenses, they're going to be a bit tricky to fit 8 people in, if you're having a social occasion. With this thing, even without getting out of your seat, you can just hold it above your head, point it down, and you get everybody in the picture. We did this recently. We had a barbecue outside. We had some guests over, and I just held it above my head. At first I was standing up, and then I realized I don't need to stand up. You can just hold it above your head and everyone gets in the shot. The key is don't get people too close to the edges. So if you can do that, then it's fantastic for taking pictures of people. It's almost as good as having a drone above you. So that's a really useful thing. But I would not use this for fine art photography, for portraits, for landscapes. You want a more serious lens for that. This is a fun lens to enjoy. Maybe get into fisheye lenses, just dip your toe in the water kind of thing. It's not a true fisheye at 10 millimeters, so it's kind of just dipping your toes in. But at the same time, it's good that it's not a full fisheye, because 10 millimeters is very, very wide. 7.5 millimeters on my old lens was ultra wide. I mean, it was crazy wide. This is still ultra wide, but it was like too wide. You really did have to get close to people. So with this, I say just find your focus spot. I mean, when you get it, play around with flowers or whatever, doing some close-up shots. You can actually get bokeh from this lens, but then set it and forget it. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to probably tape it up or something. It's a reasonably smooth focus ring. It's not loose, but I think I might end up taping it, sticking something on there so that I just leave it at the perfect position. And then I never touch it again, and just, it's just an enjoyable lens to have. So I think that's it. I think I've covered everything. It's a definite buy, especially £38, $50. If you want it faster, it's still a great buy at $75, £50. If you've got any questions, ask them below. If I can't think of anything else, but if I think of anything that I've missed, I will put it in the comments below or the description. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.